Hello, my dear people of Amazonia, my fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement. Our celebration greetings from me, Comrade John Akura. Today is Saturday, and this day is June 17, 2023. Of course, you recall those inscriptions I was talking about. Who told you that Amazonians are about to surrender? Of course, Amazonians are never about to give up. We will never ever give up. We will fight and fight and fight like hell until we get to our homeland. And my people of Amazonia want to assure you it's hard, it's tough, it's difficult, but it is worth it. I like to assure each and every one of us here that the end game, the end result of what is going on now will be the freedom of Amazonia. And we shall, as a people, stand and be proud that at least we have a homeland again. When you hear people get to places and when they're about to get back home, you hear them sing, home again, again, home again, again. That is because home is where the heart is. And so, my dear people of Amazonia, it was never meant to be a walk in the park. We all knew that the path to our freedom, that the path to Boya was going to be, strewn, sometimes with corpses, sometimes with blood. And at the end of the day, we will get there. Because even those who did it before us still went through that. No tyrant in the world, no colonial administration gets up willingly and says, okay, you people go. No, we all know what happened to the children of Israel in Egypt. Several times Pharaoh got up and said, okay, go. But when they were about to go, he did everything again to hold them in slavery and servitude. La République du Cameroon has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that the only language they will hear to get out of our land is heart language. My people of Amazonia. Before I continue, I want to observe a minute of silence in honor of our compatriots who, for no good reason in the world, are paying with their lives in Kedjom Keku. May the souls of the faithful departed rest in peace until we meet again to part no more. My dear people of Amazonia, I announced yesterday that I was going to be on this platform today in the company of four of our other compatriots. And I said I was going to be on this platform with Comrade Prizo, who is the acting national chairman of the Southern Cameroon's National Council, the SCNC, with Comrade Dabne Yerima, who is the vice president to the interim government, IG Care, and also going to be with Dr. Alobwede, Irene Alobwede, and who is, the chair lady of one very strong women's organization, the Women's League, the Southern Cameroon's Women's League, and then of course Mbonwi. Am I getting a bit mixed up with her name here? Mr. Mbonwi, who is the Tekla Mbonwi, okay, Ms. Tekla Mbonwi, who is the chairlady of the Southern Cameroon's European Women. And so, because of programming imperatives, we have decided to carry forward that broadcast to Monday. And that Monday, that broadcast is going to happen. The time will be 7 p.m. Amber time. Just 1 second, so I look at it. Yes, so it's going to be at 8 p.m. Central European time. That's if you are in Belgium, you're in Germany, you're in France, it's going to be 8 p.m. If you are in Amazonia, it's going to be 7 p.m. And if you are in the United States and Canada, it's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So that will be on Monday. And Monday is June 19, 2023. That outing is very important. Important because the more we sit together, turn around our differences, work together to look in the same direction, the more we hasten the departure of La République du Cameroon from our territory. And so that said, I just wanted to make it clear that our people did not just decide not to honor this rendezvous. It's because we had some programming imperatives, and so because we are dealing across time zones and working with pre-schedules that people had made. That's why we find ourselves here. So that said, there is carnage in Kedjom Keku. Serious carnage in Kedjom Keku. The images are so bad that YouTube will not allow me to play them right here. I would have loved to play those images here so we all see for ourselves what our people in Kedjom Keku are really going through. But because I know that YouTube is not going to allow those images here because they're really egregious, because they are really bad, I can only talk about it. By the time I came into the studio to begin this broadcast, the count was about 19 bodies, both men and women, littered on the streets of Kedjom Keku, as Big Babanki. Before this happened, a good number of houses were first of all razed, burnt down to ashes, and an old man was burnt alive in his house. All this at the behest of the fun of Kedjom Keku, who personally called on the colonial administration to open a military barrack in his village. And all of this that we are seeing is unfolding. It did not take time. It took just about 2 to 3 days after he made the request for his desire to be answered. And since then, the carnage has been unimaginable. There are a lot of people really in the forest right now. By the time I was getting into the studio, I was talking to some people on the ground where, like, my wife went to Kedjom for a funeral ceremony, and since her phone number is no longer going through, we don't understand what is going on. There are a good lot of people just weeping all over the place. I'm urging all our people of Kedjom Keku, if you have family members in Kedjom Keku, please find a way to evacuate them from there, move them out of there, leave the empty village to the farm and his talks from La République du Cameroun. That's exactly what he wanted. He wanted the village to be emptied so that he will find himself, just himself, with the B of La République du Cameroun, with the entire village to himself. I've asked this question: what is it that happened that warranted the fun of Kedjom Keku to call this carnage upon his own people? And the answer was that the fun of Kedjom Keku was worried that the self-defense volunteers, captured women. Like I recall the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, Reverend Samuel Funke, said, our mothers. So they captured our mothers and kept them, and he was so bitter, disturbed, and so he said, no, let the colonial administration rather send the occupational forces to occupy his village and scare away the boys, because he felt that they were committing exactions. Again, I've said it over and over. These mothers were mounted. These mothers were misled. These mothers were pushed ahead to go out there and, commit suicide. Yeah. And it was a political expediency by some local CPDN official, thirsty for a position, to show that I have fought Ambazonians in my territory, and so therefore give me a position in exchange. That's what they've all been doing. And so therefore, he sent these mothers in harm's way. But the self-defense volunteers intercepted them, held them, had a conversation with them, had an exchange with them. I think in the process, some were running and got wounded. I don't know the rest of the details, but some had wounds and were in hospitals. And of course, the others were released same day. And now, for 7 good years, that the self-defense volunteers have been operating in Kedjom Keku, we never heard at any given moment in Kedjom Keku that somebody died at the hands of the self-defense volunteers. We never heard it. I didn't hear reports like that. We heard reports from other places, but not in Kedjom Keku. For 7 good years that the self-defense volunteers were in charge in Kedjom Keku, we never heard for one single moment that a single house was burnt down and that somebody was burnt alive in his house. For 7 good years, that the self-defense volunteers were the ones in total control in Kedjom Keku. We never heard that people's stores were broken into and looted. We never heard. But gratuitously, from nowhere, the fun of Kedjom Keku, definitely picked by his people to rule over them, to stand for them in moments like this, rather decided to stand against them, rather decided to bring carnage onto the people. I'm convinced that the fun of Kedjom Keku, where he is now, he has only his eyes to cry. Because the situation he created, he can't even reverse it anymore. The situation he created, he no longer has any control over it. The situation he created, he will just be in his corner now. That fun himself, I'm sure he doesn't have the courage to stand up and look at anybody again, eyeball to eyeball, and say, I am from Kedjom Keku. This is what happens. There is an African proverb that says, when you carry ant-infested firewood into your house, don't be surprised when lizards come visiting. When I was coming down to the studio to have this communication, something went through my mind. I recalled a poem that I studied while I was in school. And I'm sure those who had the opportunity to read this poem will recall it too with me. The Myth of Ozymandias. Because this is exactly what this will be like. And it's a very short, it's a sonnet, very short. This is what it says. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. This is where it's interesting. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Proud. I'm saying this because this is definitely what will become of the fun of Kedjom Keku. When we'll sit down to describe him in the history books, he'll be the one who will stand in the village devastated by locusts he invited himself. And he will say, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. And the traveler say, nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sand stretch far away. Yeah. You find just that piece of thing with, a big boss. I am Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. But what is around? What are the works that we're looking? Vast stretches of empty trackland, just sand, emptiness, nothingness, because of the worthlessness that was in his heart. What is happening in Kedjom Keku is what has been happening in some other of our villages. When I talk, I make reference to Fon Bambi, whom we saw here, Fon of Agam. I wonder if that one can even get to Agam. I'm sure if Bambi had his way, he will also be calling for talks to be installed in way. Is it way? No, in Agam, in Womb Central. Fons in our tradition normally were people who stood for their people. The role of a fawn is not only to pass judgment onto the people or to be worshipped and honored by the people, but to defend the people, to defend the land, to defend the interests of the people, not to rather invite the enemy to come and decimate the people. And now, yesterday, some people screamed at the top of their voices, oh, they have done this to our mothers. They have done this. No, it aches me when they touch our mothers. It aches us when they touch our mothers. Now those mothers have not just been held, they are being slaughtered. Now fathers are added to it. They are being slaughtered like animals. Some are being burnt alive in their houses. Now young people who don't know whatever is happening around them are being killed. Like one young girl said here, how she was running with her baby strapped to her back because they came to the village and they were looking for every young man to kill. That is what is happening in Kedjom Keku now. The self-defense volunteers are not victims. They are soldiers. And they dished out a warning to the people of Kedjom Keku that now that these people have come in here, better run and leave the terrain for us so that we will be able to face them like soldiers. Of course, the people thought that as their phone had said, these people are coming to protect you, they're coming to protect them. But now, death is visiting almost every compound in Kedjom Keku. I mean, almost every compound in Kedjom Keku. As I'm saying it, if you are watching me now and you have a family in Kedjom Keku, begin to reach out to them. Begin to find out how they are doing. Begin to look for a place to relocate them. Like King Ozymandias. That's how the fount of Kedjom Keku will stand in that place, in that village. Look left and right, before him and behind him, nobody. I will scream, King of Kings, look upon my works, ye mighty and despair. They have destroyed an entire village because of avarice. Because he thought that with the political calculations he had in his head, or because he was also deceived by local politicians. See what it has resulted to. My dear people of Amazonia, if you were doubting, as I've always said here before, that like Republic du Cameroon means no good for us, not yesterday, not today, and they'll never mean it even tomorrow. Just see what is happening in Kedjom. Suddenly, from nowhere, even as I'm talking, the killing is still going on. When they get tortured by the self-defense volunteers that they should be fighting, they take revenge on the local population. That's exactly what is going on. These are heartless people, my people of Amazonia. That's why Shakespeare says, when he's referring to creation, he says, as flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for their sports. In this case, you can say, as flies to wanton boys are we to La République du Cameroon's talks, to La République du Cameroon's occupational forces. They kill our people for their sports. You recall, sometimes there was someone that narrated. This was a soldier who decided to abandon and he escaped. Of course, he was from Southern Cameroon's extraction. And he said he was moving with a group of other soldiers, all of them citizens of La République du Cameroon, and they met some people just coming from the farms for doing nothing. And the guy said for the whole day, and even the previous day, he had not killed an Amazonian. And so he was not going to spare this one. From nowhere in the world, he opened fire on an old man returning from his farm and killed him. Just like that, for no good reason. Just that he has spent a day without killing some Amazonian. He needed to do sports. That's what happens. That's what has been going on our land. And I keep saying, let us always bear in mind, my people of Amazonia, that while this is going on, when we are still resisting so strongly, it is a message that the day La République du Cameroon finally confirms that we were defeated at war, that they subdued us at war, those who are in the diaspora, it will just be better you stay where you are. Those who are back at home, I don't know. Because no one would like to live to tell that kind of story of exactly what is going to be happening to us. And this is why I keep saying, anytime you sit and imagine about this and think about this, revise your approach to this liberation movement. Oh yes, I say revise your approach to this liberation movement. It needs all of us. It needs all our hands on deck. I've said here over and over and over again, we are on our own. And because we are on our own, we have to fight like people who know they are on their own. That is why the infighting, like I just said here the other day, that our watch people, they are so motivated. All what they are sharing on some fora is only literature that's meant to divide the struggle further. Oh, this group is fighting. That is what they share the most. If someone were to evict them from the forum, the other would say, oh no, it's free speech. We are in a liberation movement. And in this liberation movement, all what we need is loyalty. All what we need is commitment. All what we need is focus in order to send the enemy out of our territory. We haven't attained that level just yet, that we can start playing around, claiming its freedom of speech to, come out there and support the enemy against your people. That doesn't happen. It hasn't happened in any liberation movement before ours. Ours is no exception. Even as I speak, I was just also off a meeting with other stakeholders. I heard about the people of the APLC and others that are trying to federate, trying to bring people together at all levels, just like the Southern Cameroon Stakeholders Platform. Keep trying to bring people together at all levels. We have to work together. We really don't have much of a choice. While people in the Cameroon causing us this carnage, I learned that their president, the vegetable called Paul Biya, instructed an addendum of 380 billion CFA onto their budget to speed up the reconstruction of Ambazonia. Reconstruction. I started hearing about reconstruction about 2 or 3 years ago. But every day we are talking about the destruction is continuing unabated. Reconstruction. La République du Cameroon itself is in a very sorry state. They haven't finished reconstructing La République du Cameroon. They haven't finished fixing it. It's Ambazonia they want to reconstruct. Just take a look at this. This picture, oh gosh, just allow me to laugh at something that really doesn't deserve laughter. But I'm trying. Just take a look at this picture. This is in Yaoundé. You see this car, it's not like the car fell off a cliff. No, this is a road. This car, the guy was driving his car and it sank on the road in Yaoundé. This is Yaoundé. I mean, this is Yaoundé, the capital of La République du Cameroon, where Paul Biya lives and works. This is Yaoundé. If Paul Biya cannot fix common roads inside Yaoundé, it's Ambazonia he will come and develop. If you don't see it well, let me take it to another angle. I guess from here you can begin to see that this is a road that sank. This guy was driving and suddenly it started going inside. This inside the national capital of La République du Cameroon. Mr. Paul Biya hasn't done anything there. But he is talking about reconstruction in Ambazonia. Take a look at this one. So now you can see very clearly that this is the road. These are not my images, they are images of Zumanto. Because they are embarrassed, they are shocked. That is the road in one of the neighborhoods in the heart of Yaoundé. Mr. Paul Biya cannot pay attention to that one. He has not fixed it. They don't have the will and the money to do it. Yes, he's telling you he wants to reconstruct Ambazonia. Since when did you start hearing about the hundreds of billions that were meant to reconstruct our land? Yet nothing has happened. My people of Ambazonia, listen. La République du Cameroon as it were. I've said it here several times that it's at the verge of a precipice. They are doing everything that they are doing on our land, killing rampantly as they are doing all kinds of things, struggling that they are creating military barracks here and there. That is a mirage. You know what a mirage is? I don't have a lot of time on this platform to go on now explaining. But a mirage is, I mean, and this you can find in physics, just go to Google, type the mirage, M-I-R-A-G-E, M-I-R-A-G-E, mirage. And to put it simple, if you recall the time when you're moving on tar and the sun is really overhead, and you look right ahead before you, you have the feeling that there's a huge pool of water on the road. But as you're approaching, it suddenly appears to disappear. That's what I'm talking about as a mirage. That's a mirage. Something that appears to exist, but which does not exist. So what La République du Cameroon is doing is trying to brandish before us a mirage to give the impression to those with weak minds that, oh, we are losing. Oh, it's not working. Oh, La République is finally totally in control everywhere, but their talks are falling like flies on a daily basis, as I'm telling you. Just 2 days ago, because when I was here broadcast, I didn't have the information. 2 days ago, about 2 armored cars again were reduced to rubble in Bui. And I could see the picture is out there. I don't ventilate those pictures, but the picture is out there. You can see, and you see what was taken out. Was taken out of there to confirm to you that La République du Cameroon is facing serious vicissitudes on our land. But what we need to do is to operate with the Ubuntu Spirit. I am because you are. The Ubuntu Spirit. We need the Ubuntu Spirit at this stage. Because before long, we have to get to that point where we just need to bond together and push La République du Cameroon out of our land. Their day is coming. That day is not far. That is why I keep saying here every day, and some have reduced me to the level of a preacher, that I say success is when opportunity meets preparation. That's when success happens, when opportunity meets preparation. This liberation movement, this phase of it at least, did not begin at this time for nothing. It's because there will be an opportunity. This is why we need to get ready. We need to work so hard to be ready. And I want to doff my heart to all those who are working very hard to federate all the self-defense volunteers on the ground, that they should be in a kind of entente, have a kind of working relationship together, such that together they will be able to overcome. So they will stop fighting each other. They will stop turning their toys against each other, and they will all be focusing on the enemy. I'm also delighted here that at least if we observe now and way before, the incidence of kidnapping for ransom has tremendously reduced, because there is a conscious effort to make sure that the back seats are being removed or are being taken away from the liberation movement by the day. Relations between the self-defense volunteers and the people in the various communities, the civilians, are improving tremendously. Points of discord are being ironed out, and this is exactly the path that we had to follow from the start, but never too late. We are on it, and we shall get there. And for those who are continuing to talk of some illusory thing, illusory, I like to use that word, my dear brother, the right reverend moderator of the Presbyterian Church, Samuel Funky, who referred to our liberation movement as an illusion. I like to say that this is the real illusion. The real illusion is some talk going around that there's something called one and indivisible somewhere, and that Cameroon is a bilingual country. This is from an international personality who had worked in a diplomatic mission in Yaoundé. So why could not Cameroon President Bia's condolence message to John Frundi's family be in English? Imagine a Canadian PM not using French in similar circumstances with a Quebec leader. Bilingual country, ha! And their first meeting was only in 2010. Shameful. This is not from me. This is a message to those who still sit and make a noise and say, oh, one and indivisible, and say, listen, if Mr. Bia writing to the family of Frundi cannot even have the honor to write in English, well, it tells what it tells. It's not just that it's a choice and option. No, it is deliberate. It's defiance. It is deliberate. What you read in that Paul Bia's message addressed to Fundi's family in French is defiance. It's telling our people, telling Southern Cameroonians, telling Ambazonians that whether you like it or not, you will be assimilated. He said it in France with his own lips. You will be assimilated. And you see the comparison with Canada, because this issue has come on over and over. Imagine that is the Quebecois minority in Canada, the French-speaking minority in Canada, that was being maltreated the way they are maltreating, the way Ambazonians are being maltreated by La République du Cameroun, that's France's surrogate. The whole of La Francophonie would have been up. You would have been seeing even French-speaking African countries sending forces. But the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, that orphaned us and threw us in this mess, they are quiet. The Commonwealth of Nations is quiet. Nobody is saying anything. People's corpses are littering the streets all over the place. No one is saying anything. Why? Your guess will definitely be as good as mine. That's why, my people, even the friends of Ambazonia on the international scene remind us every day that the only way out for us is to work together. The only way out for us is to bond together. The only way out for us is to forget about games and to understand that we are orphaned. And so, therefore, we really must do everything to stand together. Otherwise, we will all crumble like fools. My dear people of Ambazonia, I didn't mean this broadcast to be long. I absolutely just came here so that we have a quick exchange and to make known that this very important appointment with the other stakeholders of this liberation movement is moved to Monday. And I gave you the hours. If you are in Ambazonia, it will be Monday at 7 p.m. That will be 7 p.m. Amber time. If you are in Central Europe, it will be 8 p.m. And if you are in North America, it will be 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So don't miss that very important rendezvous. And on that note, I'm going to thank all of you who found time to be on this platform today to share with me. And I look forward to meeting you all on Monday. And don't forget, on Monday, the last 15 to 20 minutes of the broadcast, that joint broadcast, we will open the lines and you will be allowed to call in directly and ask questions of those who are at the forefront of this liberation movement. You will raise your concerns and you will get answers live. So it's going to be live on this platform. Thank you again. And until we meet on Monday, have a nice time. To God be the glory.